We're back, people, and today we're breaking down film on Erik Ezukanma, Miami Dolphins receiver. Definitely stepped up big time, and he needed this after having some injuries. There's been question marks about him, in his fit within the team. But I think he stepped up pretty nicely in this game and made multiple big plays. And he just looks like, out there that he definitely belongs as an NFL player. Like, he's just moving differently than his competition in this preseason game, which you want to see. Like, it is against lower level opponents, but he clearly looked like he was a level above everyone else on the field, which is nice. There's still growth that I want to see from him as a player. He's obviously going to be great with the ball in his hands, and I think he can do some things down the field as a deep threat. But fitting within the timing of the system, running routes, those are all things that you still want to see growth. And to me, I think, with he's pretty locked to make the roster now. He wasn't a lock, but with the River Craycraft injury, he pretty much locks up one of those 6 spots. And OBJ is still technically on PUP. But he's definitely out there looking pretty smooth. He offers just a different skill set than a lot of the other wide receivers, which is, I think helpful for him seeing some playing time potentially early on. And we'll see, hopefully, if he stays healthy, I think this is his best chance really ever to prove himself. Overall, though, like a really strong game. A couple of reps where, I think he'd like to get things back. But yeah, he went out there and looked like a man amongst boys at times. And I do think his route running and the timing in the system did look a little bit more consistent than it usually had in the past. So I think that should help him out. And they'll still clearly try to get him the ball because that's where kind of his skill set excels. First play here though, in the slot, running the slot fade. Just good job with his pace variation. I like how he sells this. He gives a little foot fire, starts to slow down his pace, freeze the DB, and then accelerate past him. And he's got just a bigger size than a lot of the people on this roster. He has some physicality. He tracks the ball. He's a guy that can win as a vertical threat. And definitely is strong at the catch point for the most part. Like, I've seen him have some easy drops, but he will make some acrobatic catches. And this is just nice work from Easy. Definitely, he needed this bad. He was one of the guys, I think, in the preseason game that might have needed it more than anyone else to, one, make the roster and potentially save playing time. But with those injuries, he has a chance of getting some looks. He still has some value. Here is definitely something you like to see. It's finding that soft spot versus zone. Dolphins love to run these in-breakers. One, I love how he stems this to the outside. You can look at his route angles. A lot of wide receivers kind of struggle with mixing up the pace variation. They don't understand the tempo of things. They also can kind of struggle to work different angles. As long as you get back on your path and end up in the right spot, that's all that matters. You can do it in the right time. Here, he's not the first read, so he knows he has a little bit extra time at the bottom to sell this, so he slows it down. He gives a little stem to the outside. I love the physicality. He's able to work through contact. He's got that size, play strength, runs through it. He's great with the ball in his hands in that area. And then, boom, ball's out early. Mike White throwing with anticipation. Easy feels the soft spot, snaps his head around, and starts to sit down with it and make that catch in between the triangle of defenders. And then still, fall forward for extra yards. That's something he's very good at. Here was his best play with the ball in his hands. I don't think the reverse, they've tried running some of these reverses or sweeps to him. I don't think that's the best way to get him the ball. I think maybe screens or just when he has space and he can just instantly go forward. I don't think he has, he's more of a long strider speed-wise, so he doesn't able to get enough speed to capture the edge on these reverses a lot. I just think there's better players to do that too. But he's very good at breaking tackles, great core strength, great contact balance, the way he's able to reverse field and still pick up 6 because there wasn't really anywhere to go. Right here, some guys on the roster probably have the speed to get around this guy right here. I don't think Easy is that type of guy, so he has to slow down, make that guy miss, break off the tackle, reverse field. Very impressive, but I do think getting him the ball, whether he's catching the ball in stride down the field or working on more like a screen and he can get vertical, that's kind of more where his yak, I think, could be used to, definitely a positive. Here we got Easy at the bottom, facing some press. I feel like he did a decent job with his releases in this game, not wasting any time. I like the split release. This is something definitely McDaniel will teach you. He doesn't offer too many different releases, but this is one just off the ball. You split your legs at the bottom, and you give yourself a two-way go off the press look, and it doesn't waste too much time. And he's able to get on top of the DB fairly quickly. The safety comes down. If Mike White comes off of this and throws it back to down the seam this way, he potentially has Easy for a touchdown here. He gets off the ball. I thought he showed nice quickness, explosiveness. He just looked like a better player than these guys now versus NFL, higher NFL talent. We'll see how that translates. But I do think he can find a place in this offense. I don't think he's going to be this big-time player, but there's definitely a unique way to use him in a very specific role that I think the Dolphins will try. I think they've been trying to do it. They tried to do it last year, but the injury happened, and I think they're going to try to get that done this year. Here, Easy just looks explosive, man. I feel like he just looks like the first of all his step count right here. This looks really like his feet are just moving so quickly. So I like just looking at the movement skills, and he even shows some fluidity like in his steps, like when he tries to stem you to the outside there, break across the middle. I just wanted to show him working on the field. Like this is important too because you got to be able to run clear out routes, and I feel like he's getting downfield in a hurry just to open up space at different spots. Because there's definitely route concepts where it's important just to be the guy that gets down the field as fast as possible. And I think Easy can also do some of those outside things. And that's the reason I think he can get some playing times early. Because with River out, that kind of opens up that spot at wide receiver 3/4 as an outside guy. Because OBJ is technically still out too. He'll definitely take over that role when he's back healthy. But after Tyreek and Waddle, the slot role will be Berrios and Malik Washington fighting for playing time. But on the outside, if you go, you want to move Tyreek or Waddle to the inside in the slot, Ezukanma can find playing time on the outside because the other two probably won't see too much playing time in that area. This is what I'm more talking about with the screens. Allow him, they get the motion out. Love seeing the motion, snap this back around. It just allows him to get upfield quickly. If you allow him to just get vertical, he does a better job because I think he sees it. He can accelerate. I don't think he's good when he has to go left to right. And he just runs through tackles. Like, he carries guys extra yards. There's nothing too crazy here, but there's plenty of examples on his college film and even film like in previous preseasons where he is very, very difficult to bring down, which is interesting. This was probably his biggest negative rep of the game, like one where he actually lost. Like, there's other plays where he might have been able, one, he had a screen that went nowhere, but he got hit as soon as he caught the ball. That was not his fault. There was one, the jet sweep will show in a second. Could have been a better play, but it's not super negative. This one, he just didn't get off the ball. This is where he struggled versus press, wasn't able to get off with physicality. He probably could have set this up a little bit better. Once he gets here, like once he stems on the outside, like this part right here is not too bad. You get this guy to open up. Like he got him not in a bad spot, but once he does that, he's got to get back to the inside path, I think. So I feel like he just tried to bully him down the field and he should have, once done that, get back into the blind spot to the inside. So use your hands, swipe that elbow, and then get that inside path. I think he just tried to be too much of a bully, and that allowed hands on, and the guy just slowed him down, and then he never got his head around. So it's just timing of things. Like here's the jet sweep, another example of they're trying to get him going horizontally, where I think he doesn't get as many opportunities to break tackles because the angles, like once he goes here, like he wasn't in a bad spot. If he just gets up vertically right here, I think he has a better chance of like running through some tackles or carrying guys. But he tried to set it up and get to the outside. I think when he gives himself this angle, like this horizontal sort of angle for DBs to hit him, it makes him much easier to tackle and he's not able to break it. But this is not something I'm super concerned about because I do think that's probably one of his biggest strengths when it comes to, as a player, just his ability to break tackles, contact balance, all that stuff. That's really what he did in college most. Here's an example of Easy doing a much better job. This is later in the game. Him beating press. This is what you want to see. That you give that hard shift to the outside. Really, really impressed with the twitchiness here. Like you, boom, step outside the frame. You want to get that right leg right there. Step outside the frame and look at what it does to the DB. Gets him to open up. And now you get on the inside path. When this guy takes himself out of the play and you get him that, you don't need to then engage. Like you might be able to, have to swipe a hand there, but you don't need to try to bully him. Take that inside path, especially when you're running an in-breaker, because both these routes were in-breakers. The other one was more of a quicker slant. This one's like a deeper sort of glance bang 8. If this ball comes to him, he's definitely open. I mean, these safeties might have been, but like if he's hit on the break, it's definitely a completion. The ball's just thrown down into the flat. But yeah, Easy, I think overall had a really strong game, which is big for him. I think if he stays healthy the whole season, it will obviously be the one where he's most impactful because first year he was a rookie, didn't see too much playing time. Didn't really have a chance. Second year, he was going to start seeing playing time. Still not be like one of your top guys, but definitely more usage. And then got hurt in the second game. I think if he stays healthy this season, it might be similar to last year where he's not one of your main targets, but he's definitely used throughout the year. Maybe gets a couple touches every single game. And to me, you can still find value in that type of guy. It's like he's definitely a guy that can be replaced, but we'll see how he ends up taking advantage because this is kind of like his final year, in my opinion, for him to really step up and be like a guy that like you make yourself a spot on this team, because if he doesn't, then it's kind of like uh, they're gonna bring in competition that's gonna be there to replace you. So if you guys enjoyed the video, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and let's get started.